friends! The subject of today's video is Jake Perry, a plumber from Austin, Texas, who became something of a local celebrity for adopting hundreds of cats throughout his life, and many cats, like too many cats that belonged to Perry, are said to have lived to over 30 years old. The Guinness World Record for oldest living cat was broken by Perry's cats twice. First was a Sphinx named Grandpa Rex's Allen, who died in 1998 at the age of 34 years old. Then that record was broken by Cream Puff, who died in 2005 at the age of 38 years old. That is like a human living well into their hundreds. Jake Perry did his last public interview in 2015, at which point he was already 85 years old. He had only one cat left and was realistically preparing for the end of his life. If still alive today, he would be 94, probably not taking care of cats anymore, or even himself. I did look, I couldn't find any obituaries and any mentions of his death, so he very well still may be alive in a retirement home in Austin somewhere. Perry's cats always celebrated Easter with baskets of eggs filled with treats, Thanksgiving with turkey and long naps, and around New Year's with tiny cat hats and champagne, a beverage Grandpa liked so much I had to keep a little bottle for him. Every Christmas, Perry and Grandpa headed to PetSmart so Grandpa could pick out gifts for the cat clan. Back at home, Perry assembled an electric train that ran around the house, sometimes carrying feline freight hoppers as it passed. But what motivates him to go to such lengths? Perry answers without hesitation. "I love them," he says. And another thing, "When I go to the shelter, the old heart starts ticking. I see them and I think, I want you." Great article, really made me fall in love with Perry. Just absolutely fascinated with him and his ancient cats, and I wanted to know more, especially about Grandpa, because, you know, like, it's in my lap right now, but crazy rat lady is me. And there's another big rotisserie chicken sitting on my counter back there. So to have died in 1998 at the age of 34, Grandpa would have had to have been born in 1964, which, if you're not like a hairless cat nerd, it might not stand out to you why that's so cool, but like, that's so cool, because that's before it was officially a breed. Hairless cats were so rare. Like, they were so rare in the 60s and 70s. They were known about in like the fancy cat scene and the cat show scene, and they'd pop up every once in a while, and breeding them was really hard because the hairless trait is recessive, so after a couple generations, like, the amount of inbreeding you have to do is just untenable. So breeders and fancy cat people all over North America were just like absolutely frothing to get their hands on more hairless cats. So how in the actual fuck did one end up with a plumber from Texas who says that he was getting his cats by, like, scaling fences to save them from kill shelters? I'm going to tell you how that happened. The fascinating, winding, and potentially even a little bit mysterious tale of Jake Perry and his cat Grandpa. But first, a word from this video's sponsor, Aura. This year has seen a number of high-profile data breaches, which raise some serious concerns about the security of our personal data. For example, Ticketmaster experienced a massive breach, compromising over 560 million customer records. You want to hear an even bigger number than 560 million? Over 2.9 billion records were stolen from national public data. The stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number. All that information about you may now be out there on the internet for others to use. If you weren't taking precautions with your personal data online previously, now is an excellent time to start doing that, and Aura is an amazing tool that is available to help you. Aura monitors your personal data across billions of data points like the dark web or public court records to alert you of any potential identity theft. They also provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance if the worst were to happen. Plus, Aura offers a variety of other features to help keep you safe online. It helps you remove your information from data brokers selling your contact info to scammers. It's got a password manager, a VPN for secure browsing. All of that is included in one convenient place, so you can cover all of your online security bases with one service. You can go check out my magical link in the description down below, aura.com/strangeeons. You'll get 14 days free and find out if any of your personal information is exposed out there. Thank you so much again to Aura for sponsoring this video, and now I return you to your regularly scheduled content.
My name is Jake Perry, and I love cats. This is my life with these rascals here. Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's a show cat, a Finks, and he just turned 4 years old April 30th this year. That was quick. Okay. Next, Stephanie, Charlotte, Mittens, Mungo, Hopsing, Red Dog, Buffy the Vampire, Suzanne Rosanna.
Jake Perry loved his cats. And he did have a human family too. He had a wife, kids, grandkids, eventually even great-grandkids. So it wasn't just like him and the cats living in isolation and mutual obsession. It sounds like cats were more like just his hobby and his passion that he spent pretty much all of his spare time on. Perry estimates that he and his wife Judy adopted over 400 cats. We took sick ones and injured ones, our expense, we got them on their feet, kinda trained them, you know? Find them a home or take them back to the shelter where they can make the adoption fees to help the others. And his house was like filled with all these cat walkways and transit tubes and perches. It very much belonged to the cats just as much as humans. There's this incredible quote, which I don't have written down, but it's from this article where he was interviewed in the 90s, where it says something like, his grandson is outnumbered 17-1 among tiny creatures in his home.
I built Grandpa a little theater downstairs. He loved to watch wildlife pictures. I put a feature film on, a cartoon, a newsreel, and previews what I'm gonna show next. Coming up. But I tell you, these cats have been my life. You know, if I lived in the country, there wouldn't be no shelters. They'd be at my house.
Now, the most extraordinary and famous cat of Perry's, the protagonist of this video, you could say, is Grandpa Rex's Alan. Grandpa was also Perry's favorite cat. He once described Grandpa as being like a brother to him and said that when Grandpa eventually died, he would too. Which is, I mean, it's dramatic, but I also say that about my cats all the time. Every day, okay, I look into his little face and I say, if you ever die, I will also die. Perry says that he got Grandpa from the Travis County Humane Society on January 16th, 1970. According to Perry, Grandpa had been found at the intersection of Windsor Road and Expedition. The guy who found him took him to a shelter because he figured he was gonna get killed, run over, you know? I was there when they brought him in. At first, I didn't want him, but then he was so lovable. It touched me. Perry then put up posters around Austin advertising that he had found this hairless cat because hairless cats were so rare. They were not common. Like, this cat had obviously belonged to someone who had probably cared about it. So he was initially trying to find the original owner. And it took months, but Perry did eventually get a call from Grandpa's original owner. And it was a woman with a French accent, a Madame Soulineberg, who said that she was from Paris. She told him that Grandpa's original name had been Pierre and that he had run away while she was visiting her daughter in America. And this tracks. This 100% tracks with what I know about where Sphinx breeding programs were at this time. Everyone always cites that one famous breeding program that started in Toronto in 1966 as being like the origin of Sphinx cats. And as much as I would love to claim this as a point of pride for my city, it's just like not, for multiple reasons. First of all, it didn't succeed. It was later breeding programs that actually established the breed. Second of all, it wasn't even the first to fail. In the 1930s, there was this French professor, Etienne Letard, based in Paris. He succeeded in breeding multiple generations of hairless cats using Sphinxes and Devon Rexes and figured out that the trait was recessive. So the idea that Grandpa, or Pierre, was born in Paris in 1964 is totally plausible, even though it predates well-known North American breeding programs. Oh, cat feeder. I've actually been digging through newspaper archives. I read probably thousands of newspaper archives this week because I'm insane, doing research for another possible Sphinx-related project. So yeah, there was probably less than 100 hairless cats in existence at this point. In existence. So Grandpa was just like a truly extraordinary cat to have fallen into Jake Perry's life. The next time Madame Soulineberg visited America, she met up with Perry to confirm that Grandpa had indeed been her cat. Perry said, "She said I could keep him as long as I signed an agreement saying I wouldn't show him as a pedigree, because she did not like the pedigree judges. I said, well, it don't matter. I done registered him as a household pet with the International Cat Association, and his name is Grandpa Rex's Allen, and that's the way it'll be." Then she gave me the pedigree papers. I love that he named him Grandpa, like probably just because he's wrinkly. And then this cat lived to be 34 years old, becoming the ultimate grandpa. Said papers declared that Grandpa/Pierre had been born in Paris, France, February 1st, 1964. His father, Pierre II, was a Devon Rex, and his mother, Queen of France, was a Sphinx. This has led some who have reported on Grandpa to describe him as a Sphinx-Devon Rex mix. But I'm gonna get really pedantic about cat breeds for a second here. Sphinxes and Devon Rexes are breeds that are defined by their mutations. The Sphinx's nakedness and the Devon Rex's curly fur semi-nakedness, they're the result of different mutations to the same gene, which affects the hair follicles. Oh, my son returns. Oh, my son, he's done eating lunch, he returns. Sphinxes and Devon Rexes, I have both a Sphinx and a Devon Rex, crawling on me right now. They've been bred together a lot to increase the genetic diversity of the Sphinx breed. And the result has been cats with varying levels of hairlessness. I mean, fucking look at my boy, he's got pants on. I'll attach a picture because he's gonna squirm, but I just bothered him. Anyway, look at my fucking boy, he's got pants on. What is this? What I'm trying to say is because of the way the breeds are categorized, a cat can technically only be a Sphinx or a Devon Rex genetically. It doesn't really matter what their parents were, it just matters what mutation they have. Looking at Grandpa and reading descriptions of how hairless he was, it seems safe to say that he was a Sphinx.
I started him in the cat shows. He's done so good. In 2 years, he won the Supreme Grand Champion. The judges loved him. People loved him. He loved people. He was real famous. I guess the word would be celebrity. At the cat show, it's kind of real simple. They go up in front of the judge, and the judge checks their fur, checks their ears are clean, and claws are clipped, and personality. Then the judge makes the decision. Out of 10 cats, first, second, or third, then they'll go back for finals. And having a show cat, they gotta be able to take the noise and handling for 2 days.
Perry describes Grandpa as having been extremely intelligent and human-like. He says he took Grandpa everywhere with him, including grocery shopping, but that Grandpa especially loved shopping for himself and the other cats at PetSmart. He says that Grandpa knew colors and specifically loved to wear pink baby clothes.
Only Grandpa liked to venture out on Jake's daily rounds.
He liked to ride in the truck, and he would like to see the green lights, cars, sceneries.
Every morning, Perry would cook Grandpa a special breakfast.
The food? Now, wait a minute. Here's what Grandpa ate every morning of his life for breakfast, along with a cup of Folgers coffee, regular please, not decaf.
Bacon, eggs, broccoli, and mayonnaise.
Now, it is true in his later years, Jake switched Grandpa to egg beaters and fake bacon.
I set a jar of mayo and a jar of red jelly in front of him. Whichever he puts his paw on, that's what he has on his bacon and eggs. No salt. He's on a salt diet. For dinner, Grandpa would eat what Perry refers to as his vet's CD dry food and CD canned food. I think he probably means the Hills Science Diet urinary care food. CD is crystal diet, so it's food that's specifically formulated to stop crystals from forming. There's a few brands that make food like this, but I know Hills Science Diet is the one that is always sold in vets' offices. In his elderly age, and Grandpa was considered elderly for most of his life, he had vet checkups every 2 weeks. It sounds like Perry had a very close relationship with his vet. Like, I imagine most of this man's disposable income went to vet bills. The vet that Perry took his cats to displayed Grandpa's pictures and awards on their walls. One of the vet techs recalls in an interview that they made like Grandpa-themed t-shirts and calendars for his birthday. The vet's office hosted his birthday parties, which the local news often attended.
He's often mistaken for a Chihuahua, but this is the nation's oldest known cat who has well outlived his 9 lives. Meet Grandpa Rex's Allen, part Rex, part Sphinx, celebrating his 32nd birthday. That's 32 human years, 160 cat years.
This cat was very much like a point of local pride. This cat had a whole community around him. Perry even invited President Bill Clinton to come to one of Grandpa's birthday parties. You know, if I had a nickel for every time a president was invited to meet a celebrity hairless cat, I'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it happened twice. And Grandpa just kept on going, just kept on having those tuna broccoli birthday cakes. The doctor said he's built like a Ford truck. Tough. He wants to live. Last year he had double pneumonia and then a heart murmur. He had a blood clot removed. They opened him up and he had 12 sutures. In February he gets allergies. He's had about 3 surgeries on his ears. That's interesting to me because the moment I saw Grandpa's ears, why? Perry does not say why Grandpa had these surgeries on his ears, but I dare to suggest, perhaps, the humble oral hematoma. That's when a cat's ear gets hurt and blood pools between the layers of cartilage and it kind of creates this bubble, which usually needs to be drained by a vet. And then once It's drained, the cartilage is left kind of disfigured. Do you see what a little fashion model he is? Hi, sweet boy. Yeah, I know. Crawling on me like bugs, all of you. Oh, love. Love. It was reported that Grandpa Rex's Alan died on April 1st, 1998, at the age of 34 years, 2 months, and 4 hours. His cause of death was pneumonia, which had recurred annually for the last couple of years of his life, getting worse every time. Donations were made by fans all over the world to help fund Grandpa's funeral and burial. Perry marked his grave with a custom headstone and a 3-foot-tall Virgin Mary statue.
I miss him real bad, and it hurts.
As of 2015, Perry had 47 of his cats buried in his backyard in fiberglass baby caskets. Fiberglass baby caskets! Perry said the burial is an important part of finding peace when a beloved pet passes, as is honoring their lives with a viewing and memorial service open to friends and family. I've still got a video somewhere from when Grandpa died, says Betsy Williams, the vet tech. The cats would walk up to the casket and kind of sniff at him and walk past. It was like a human funeral service. He'll eventually be buried there too, right beside the pets he treated as members of his more conventional family. These are my children, he says, with that unmistakable Texas drawl. I looked after them until they passed on. That's the way I was raised up. And a few years after Grandpa passed in 2005, his world record for longest living cat was beaten by another of Perry's cats who lived to 38. I know I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but 38! Perry and his vet both claim that a number of Perry's cats lived to over 30, and even more of them had impressive lifespans into their 20s. But why? Like, why is it that Perry's cats lived so long? Perry maintained that the diet and lifestyle he gave those cats was essential to their longevity. He really did believe that he cracked it. And why not? Like, everyone could see that his cats were living impressively long. They had their regular dry food, but also that special breakfast of egg beaters, turkey bacon, and broccoli. Coffee, quote unquote, with lots of cream. And every 2 days, about an eyedropper full of red wine to circulate the arteries. How would you even get a cat to drink red wine? Like, unless you're squirting the eyedropper into their mouth, how would you get a cat to drink red wine? I can see if the coffee is like mostly cream, then some cats would go for that voluntarily, but the red wine confuses me still. When asked about Perry's cat's unique diet, his vet said, "It's not what they taught us in school, you know?" All he'll concede, or speculate, is that there could be something to the cat's coffee. The kidneys are one of the weaker systems in cats, he says. If you give them a little bit of a diuretic, which caffeine is, maybe that would help? The common wisdom that you'll hear for feeding your cat the healthiest diet possible. I mean, if you're dealing with like an elderly cat or a cat with specific health issues, they might need to eat a specific diet. But if you're dealing with like a young, healthy cat with no other health issues, the advice that you'll generally find on feeding them as healthy as possible is, first of all, cats are carnivores. They need to eat only meat. You're going to want something with as high of a meat content as possible. Limited ingredients, ideally something grain-free or even raw if you can afford that. You might be thinking, well, why can't I just feed them like just straight up raw meat from my local butcher? Wouldn't that be the easiest and cheapest and healthiest thing to do? Not exactly. Cats' bodies do require specific nutrients, which sometimes you can only get from specific meats or even specific organs. So trying to nutritionally balance your cat's food yourself, in my opinion, is very ambitious. I have never tried it. I tend to just try and buy the healthiest commercially available foods I can find. That being said, cat health it's as complicated as human health. You know, different foods affect different people's bodies differently. Something that's terrible for one person might be amazing for another. Cats don't need vegetables, you say? My cats need their tablespoon of pureed pumpkin every morning, or else the diarrhea. It's complex. I understand this. Me and my pumpkin-eating cats, we understand. And yet, Jake Perry's cat diet, like, drives me insane. I am not convinced. I have not been convinced, okay, that this is the secret to cat longevity. I am not convinced that this is what I should be feeding my cats from now on. However, I kind of want them to try it, like, once. Consider this your episode of Tasting History for Cats. Actually, wait, didn't he do a cat food episode recently? No, he did dog food. Tasting History. Do you know, did he do a dog food episode or a cat food episode? It was dog food? Jake Perry's Breakfast for Grandpa Tasting History for Cats. However, it is amended, you know, from the original. I will not be feeding my cats an eyedropper of red wine. As for the coffee, if it were coffee extremely watered down with cream, they would probably eat it and it would probably not be enough caffeine to be toxic. However, dairy Dairy in my cat's digestive system? I don't know. I don't want to see what my litter box would look like after that. Absolutely not. Beverages are off the table. Okay, but what about the main meal? So we got broccoli, turkey bacon, and egg beaters. Broccoli is pretty uncontroversial to me as something to give your cat. It's potentially a good source of fiber and vitamins. So if you are going to feed it to them, though, you should cook it because it can be... most vegetables can be too difficult for their digestive systems to break down raw. So I think I'm just going to boil this broccoli, and I think my cats will eat it and enjoy it. Now we have to contend with the other two ingredients. So I was standing there in my local grocery store's meat area among the meats, and I'm looking at these turkey bacon options. I'm looking at them and I'm reading the ingredients, and I'm seeing fucking natural and artificial flavors, spices, liquid smoke. I couldn't do it. I have some just turkey, just regular plain turkey, and this is gonna have to do. Right? Or are you just like, what the fuck is that, mummy? Okay, so what about the egg beaters? So if you're unfamiliar, which I was before looking into this, egg beaters are like a healthier egg substitute that is made of egg whites and a bunch of flavorings and additives to make it taste better than just plain egg whites. My grocery store did not have the brand name egg beaters, but it had something very, very similar, and nothing in this seems as harmful to cats as like spices and liquid smoke. But I mean, there's the salt, which is not good, and I didn't buy the egg beaters either. I'll show you what I got. I have purchased just plain egg whites. Is this an entirely accurate recreation of Jake Perry's Grandpa Breakfast? No, for the sake of my cat's digestive systems, which if you're gonna make it, I also recommend that you do this version. Your cat should not be consuming liquid smoke, and I'm not convinced that it will make them immortal. I love my children, and I don't want them to poop horrible. Hi, little baby.
Are you excited? Hi, Mr. Pretty. You
He's
really
beautiful. He's so pretty.
Ew.
We've boiled. We have some broccoli right here, and we have some turkey right here, which I've peeled off the bones. I'm gonna start plating, and then we're gonna make the eggs, and then it's breakfast time at 4 p.m. Okay, you're so impatient. Maybe we give them one plate to feast over, and we can kind of try and taste test the other one.
It would be very bland.
Jake Perry's breakfast for Grandpa.
Good.
Come on, you're allowed now.
Yay! Oh! Okay, go. Get your butt in here.
They don't like the egg whites.
No, Casper's enjoying them. Come on, Big Bar. You want like good broccoli? Oh! The hungry hippo is...
He's so hungry.
so hungry. Yeah, I think the egg whites are gonna be the last thing to go. You feel special, baby boy? Are you gonna live forever?
It's not the actual food that makes them live forever. It's getting to eat off the counter.
Yeah. Off a plate on the counter.
So, egg white definitively the least popular item.
Yeah,
But
surprisingly the
everything got
broccoli.
pretty quickly demolished.
No.
This one's for us. We want to try your food too. The
Oh.
hungry hippo is never satiated.
Get your stinky feet away.
Get your stinky feet out of our plate. My favorite thing on this plate is honestly the broccoli. The turkey is really bland and we kind of overcooked it. And the egg whites are like kind of repulsive. Even the cats like the egg whites the least.
Bland.
Here, you finish your... Oh!
Is this all for me?
Yeah, you finished the
Oh,
egg whites.
Casper.
Oh!
Oh!
Oh, he's still eating it. He's got a taste
Okay.
for them now.
Bingus.
He's like, I don't know about that, mommy. I don't know about that, mommy.
Oh!
I personally, I believe that cats can live to 20 on love. And I hope that mine will. But 34 is just supernatural. I don't know what kind of creepy little internet algorithms were at play here, but while I was researching Jake Perry, YouTube recommended me this video, the SciShow video, called Can Cats Live Twice as Long? The video explains that there's this Japanese researcher named Toru Miyazaki who claims that if we eliminate chronic kidney disease in cats, many of them could double their lifespans. Chronic kidney disease is extremely common in cats, like it's one of their leading causes of death. In 2016, Miyazaki's research team found that cats' bodies produce a non-functional version of this protein called AIM, which is essential to kidney health. His team is currently working on developing a treatment for chronic kidney disease in cats that involves giving them a functioning version of the AIM protein. Clinical trials began last year, and they're hoping to have a treatment developed by 2026. So that's like really cool. Like elderly cats that might have otherwise been taken out by CKD, which is a significant number of them, might be able to increase their lifespans significantly. Cats can live twice as long is obviously a very dramatic, attention-grabbing claim. Probably part of the reason why this story went semi-viral and got a lot of crowdfunding in Japan. But as Hank Green so nicely explains in that SciShow video, the actual source of that quote from Miyazaki about cats doubling their lifespans, it comes from this talk that he gave at a conference, which is not available online anywhere. So there isn't actually an available source on how they estimated double the lifespan, if they think that estimate is optimistic or realistic or what? Okay, but how does any of this really relate back to Jake Perry? Well, you will recall the comment made by his vet, kidneys are a weak spot in cats, so maybe giving them some kind of a diuretic could help. We do also know that diuretic drugs are sometimes useful in managing chronic kidney disease symptoms in human patients. If any of Perry's cat diet had like a shred of real science behind it, it was maybe that tiny amount of coffee, not enough to be toxic, but enough to be a diuretic. But please, I beg of you, okay? I beg of you, do not give your cats coffee. This is all in the realm of wild, wild speculation. Clearly he was giving them an amount that wasn't enough to be toxic, but don't mess with that yourself. The final question that I think we need to ask in regards to Jake Perry is this story true? People really seem to have loved the local legend of it all. Maybe few things got a little exaggerated along the way. Most of Perry's cats were shelter cats. Like, we don't have a way of verifying their exact age. His vet was able to estimate a lot of their ages, but that's not 100% accurate. Hardesty has been Perry's vet for the last 15 years. He's seen 40 to 50 of Perry's cats. Hardesty believes that at least 6 of them reached age 30, with several more making it to 25. For many, however, it is impossible to know their precise ages. It's not like you can cut them open and count the rings, he says. That's an interesting image, thank you. But that is, of course, with the exception of Grandpa, right? Because Grandpa was born as like an expensive, rare, fancy breed in Paris, and there's documentation of his birth, apparently down to the exact time. He was a very fancy boy, after all, before living his pink baby clothes, PetSmart egg beaters Texas dream. Perry says that he was given these documents about Grandpa's birth by his original owner. However, no one has ever seen those papers. This picture of Grandpa with his 26 tuna birthday cake is from the year 1996, 2 years before he died at the age of 34. Perry clarifies that the 26 actually signifies 26 years since Grandpa's adoption in 1970. So, where are you going? Where are you going, Noodle? So at that point they were celebrating 26 years since Perry had Grandpa. But on the very first vet visit after Perry brought him home, the vet had estimated Grandpa's age as being around 5-ish then. So in 1996, he could have then been as old as 31, which would make him born in 1965. So going with this estimate, Grandpa then would have been 33 years old when he died in April of 1998. However, the Guinness World Record for the world's oldest cat was at that point held by a cat who had been 34. So Perry wrote to the Guinness Book of World Records and said, oops, we might have miscalculated Grandpa's age, and actually we think he was already 35 by the time that he passed away. And they apparently just said, yeah, okay, sure, makes sense, record's yours then. But none of this should have been vague or like necessitated these back and forths if Perry had documentation of Grandpa's birth. If there is a paper that says Grandpa was born in 1964, making him 34 years old when he died, why did Perry never show it to anyone to clear up these confusions? Why did he change Grandpa's age himself a few times if he just knew it the whole time? Grandpa probably wasn't 34, but he was probably 30-ish, which is still like an absolutely insane lifespan for a cat. if you don't care about the breaking the world record or whatever, like, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. And yes, I am a big giant dweebus, and I've made a timeline for this. Cats are generally considered adults, fully adults at the age of 2, so let's say a fully grown adult cat is like a minimum of 2. The vet said he could have been up to 5 when Perry found him. We can still estimate his age pretty accurately within a few years. This cat was still ungodly old, even if it seems like Perry lied by a few years to get him into the Guinness World Record book. And that, my friends, is everything that I was able to find out about Jake Perry and Grandpa. I know it's not like a tale of internet debauchery or whatever you people usually watch my videos for, but hairless cats are a very special interest of mine, and I appreciate you indulging me. I hope you love Grandpa and his silly little ears as much as me and the fact that my cat has silly little ears too. It just delights me, okay? Thank you so much for watching this video, my friends. Remember to check out my extremely cool and awesome merch, and I will see you in another one very soon.